So is that thing looking at the both of us, or is it just looking at you?
It can see your hands. It can't see you.
Oh, that's all you need to
Now
see.
you're in the screen. There you go. You were in there.
That's all you really needed.
That's right. That's all you wanted.
On News Talk 1240 WRTA, it is the 11th hour, Thursday, with Doug Herendine. Good morning. So since it's Thursday, it's Real Estate Thursday from Perry Wellington Realty and Advance Academy. We have Adam Conrad and camera today.
Yes, we decided to do something a little different. Not unlike what we do typically, right? We just always are doing something different. So
in other words, you couldn't buttonhole some agent at the last second to come in and do the show with you today, so you buttonholed the camera to come in here and do that.
Yes. And so Doug said you can bring the camera in and you can record the show. You just can't show me.
Remember Soupy Sales with the thing with the hands with just that's all that's Spenguli. All you see is the other guy's hands.
There you go. So we just thought it would be a little bit of it would be a nice opportunity to record the show. We'll post this on our website and we'll put it on YouTube, and you can listen to it on Apple iTunes. And so anybody
But it'll be free.
It'll be no charge. So that way, folks that don't get to catch the show during the day might want to watch the show in the evenings or off hours. I know there's so many of you that want to be able to do that.
Well, they already hear it. They just don't. I don't think they. That's the beauty of radio. They don't have to look at us.
Right. So the video part's completely optional. You can just listen to the audio file. But that's the nice part about it is you'll be able to do that later.
Yeah, but now you got to wear a tie on Thursdays as well.
Well, I did this because I was at the chamber breakfast meeting this morning.
Okay.
So that's otherwise
That would explain the eggs on the tie.
Oh, really? Do I have eggs on my tie?
No.
Oh, nice. You made me look. We got that on
See
film.
the beauty of radio.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
As opposed to the heck with video. 946-0435, News Talk 1240 WRTA. If you do have a question for Adam Conrad about real estate, buying, selling, all that stuff, we do invite you to call. And we have Dave in Altoona with a question. Good morning.
Council of Real Estate Brokers. Yes.
I think it sounds pretty good. Did he give you a hamburger to call in and do this?
It's the white envelope. We mail it weekly.
No, I knew of several of the certifications and awards that Perry Wellington and Adam have gotten over the years, though. That adds to the list, and thank you for pointing it out, though.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I can think of a number of reasons, but I'm sure Adam's got about 5 times many.
Yeah, well, I can tell you the top of the list is going to be price. If they put it on the market and priced it properly, it would have flown off the market. And that's what a lot of times the banks will do once they get them back, is they price them in a way that just makes it so aggressive that people line up actually. And it's surprising sometimes you actually see the price gets bid up because investors know exactly what something's worth, pretty darn close, because they're out there spending their money figuring it out. You learn lessons with money if you don't pay close attention. And so they peg them pretty quick, and they'll fly off the market if they're priced aggressively or correctly. They'll go quick. It'll be absolutely a case. It'll be a flipper. They'll call it a buy and hold. So the landlords that are buy and hold investors, they'll buy it and they'll hold it and they'll rent it to somebody. And there's actually quite a bit more of that in the market right now. Renting is extremely popular. There's so many people that are renting, and the rentals have prices for rentals. If anybody's out there renting is experiencing, I'm sure, increases in rental prices because rentals are very tight, and a lot of folks want to rent single-family homes. And so Perry Wellington, actually, we have a property management. We don't talk about this a lot, but we have a property management division. I'm going to try to get Amy Height in here one of these days. We hired a new property manager, and she is just killing it out there. I mean, she's doing a fantastic job. Not to hijack your conversation, but it is there's a lot of rather than flipping is when they buy them and then of course they fix them up and sell them. You're going to see less of that, I think. You're going to see more people that are going to hold on to them because rentals are so strong right now. So expect it, depending on the price point, you could expect it to be rented. Oh yeah, they're probably working on it, I'm sure. Yeah. There's dust flying, I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Dave, thank you. And Dave, we would never call you generic.
No, no.
Thank you very much, though.
Well, let's talk for a second, since Dave brought it up. Let's talk for a second about this, the fact that they're in there doing a bunch of work. I want to bring up an important facet of this that's come up a number of times for people that have flipped homes.
All right.
And that's that if you buy the property in foreclosure, you buy it at sheriff's sale, the quality of the deed that you get is suspect, in my opinion. And so what I mean by that is you think you own it, but it's extremely important that you buy title insurance so that you make sure that you have somebody guaranteeing the quality of the title.
Now, if you get certain types of loans, they insist that you have title insurance, right?
Pretty much if a bank's involved at all, they're always going to make you get title insurance. But a lot of these people go out and they use their own money, or they may have money that they borrowed from maybe a home equity loan,
or they have their life savings.
Right. And so this has happened more times than I can count, where the buyer bought it on the courthouse steps, bought it at foreclosure sale, bought it at sheriff's sale, and then they start fixing it up and they put it on the market to sell it. And then the buyer tries to get title insurance and can't, because there's a problem in the chain of title where, when they did the sheriff's sale, maybe somebody didn't get notified, there's problems. And so generally those always seem to get solved, but it takes time. I mean, it can take, oh yeah. So I've seen them take 5-6 months to get them cleaned up. And, that can really spoil a deal whenever you have somebody under contract.
And meanwhile, even if you don't have somebody under contract, you're holding it, which means you're paying expenses, taxes,
exactly,
heat,
right,
water, everything else to keep it in livable condition.
Right. Yeah. So my recommendation is don't lift the hammer until you've got good, clear title and title insurance through a reputable title insurer, licensed by the state, or an attorney can give an attorney's opinion of title. That's another option, but make sure you get title insurance. That's critical in those types of deals.
On one hand, I don't want to say I want to blame the shows that you see like on HGTV, because I'm addicted to them too.
Mm-hmm.
But they leave so much of it out because somebody going to get title insurance isn't very entertaining.
That's not good TV.
They don't necessarily. It's not a how-to video of restoring houses and flipping them. It's an entertainment program, and yes, you will learn from it, and yes, maybe you get the idea to do it. But don't leave out the steps along the way, you're saying, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Right, right. So, well, you probably need to take a break, but I got a great consumer tip of the day, too.
All right.
Already. It's going to be about alarm systems.
Alarm systems. Well, I'll tell you what, hold on to that one. And Virginia is calling in with a question. 946-0435. We'll continue after the break on News Talk 1240 WRTA Real Estate Thursday. Nine 460-435 News Talk 1240 WRTA. It's Real Estate Thursday. Adam Conrad from Perry Wellington Realty and Advance Academy. And we have Virginia. Virginia, where are you from?
Altoona.
Virginia from Altoona. And you have a question for Adam Conrad. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I would like to know if you heard anything at all about the
Wow, that's is there something going on? Is it not going to be there or something? Hmm. Hmm.
Well, Virginia, for what it's worth, and I'll have Adam answer this since he's the expert on it. I haven't heard that, but it doesn't mean there isn't something to it. Although I would think that somebody might have been talking about the Station Mall changing into the Station Medical Center, and that's how it morphed into something involving the mall. All malls go through hard times, relatively. Yeah, relatively. I mean, and now people are supposedly going for open air shopping areas, but when you look at the economic strength of something like Logan Valley Mall, I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. That having been said, yeah, that having been said, Adam, your take?
Well, I think malls in general. I mean, it's interesting because that was like the first mall ever, or something like that, right? I mean, it was like one of the yeah. So it's interesting that the business of malls. If you think about the evolution of downtowns and like downtown Altoona and downtowns in many places, and how everything moved out to suburban malls, and they started building those years ago. Things go through an evolution, and the big challenge we have today is that a lot of folks don't want to go to a mall where you have to park in a parking garage and walk into a mall, into an enclosed mall. A lot of folks want to make those little
Because we're
quick.
lazy.
Well, it's
We
what
want
it,
to we want to park downtown and walk right in, but we won't park 2 blocks away and walk
well,
over.
we can go one step further and say, we don't even want to do that. We just want to order it, click, and it's
Yeah,
delivered to our door from Amazon. And which is not a whole lot different when you think about it from catalog shopping from Sears and Roebuck. And by
years
the way,
ago.
whatever happened to Roebuck is what I want to know.
He took a long vacation and never came back.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah. So you
yeah,
think about,
yeah. Not surprising either. As much as you like the Wish Book every year, that and Montgomery Ward and everything else, the paper catalog I think is going by the wayside, at least in that form.
sure. So I think the takeaway from this, Virginia, is that one door closes, another door opens, right? So it's, as things evolve, we've gone through a couple of evolutions of what retail looks like. Yeah, I still think there's a good opportunity for people that have unique retail experiences. I mean, you look at the Field and Streams, and you look at the Bass Pro Shops, and you look at things like that where companies have really they call them category killers. I mean, where they just, you look at stuff like that and you say, if you're going to try to wow a consumer these days, you're going to have to do an extra special job of it. And I think things will evolve. Our real estate brokerage, for example, Virginia, wouldn't be possible if things hadn't evolved. I mean, the traditional brokerage in the United States is not what it used to be because the consumer behavior is so different. I mean, now I was explaining this to somebody at the chamber breakfast this morning. They said, well, explain how it's changed that you're able to save people money. I said, well, in a nutshell, we don't show people 20 homes anymore. I said, we show people 1 or 2 homes, and they do their shopping online using,
And usually they pre-selected, you said.
they've pre-selected them.
Yeah.
So we're able to give people a break because we don't have to do the things that we used to do that cost people money. So it's just it's one of those things. I don't know about the specific example of Virginia, but I just think that I don't hang my head and say, woe is me. I think this is maybe creating a new opportunity for the next generation of what's to come.
You know what? Off the charts? Yeah. Well, the best thing, and I'm not condoning anything that you saw. I'm just saying the best thing for your own state of mind is pretty much not to watch those things because you're just going to get upset because they're trying to make you upset. Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, but your son's 25. Does your son have kids? Okay, but I mean, if they did, it would be up to them to say, you know what, you're not going to watch this garbage on TV. We're going to watch something else. And that I think that has the parents have a great effect on that more than we realize. And as far as I'll give you the quick answer, and then we'll have to go because we're getting far afield from real estate or field and stream from real estate from what we said earlier. MTV and all that stuff is on cable, and that's not broadcast, so the FCC doesn't regulate it. People have tried to say, oh, we've got to do that, but since it's not over the air, that would take changing the laws of the way things are regulated. Like WRTA is regulated because it's an open air broadcaster, whereas cable is not, XM radio is not, and that's why people pay extra for it. If you don't like what's on there, uh, I suggest you don't financially support it. If you feel, I'm not telling you to boycott it. I'm just saying, what you watch, you get more of, even if it's something that you weren't too thrilled with. But thanks, Virginia. It's and the thing. Getting back to the mall thing, I've lived in several areas that have malls. Of course, everybody's got the local one,
Hmm.
and it strikes me that there is almost uh, a template because the way malls operate is they'll have a certain number of stores come in for anchor stores. They'll have a certain number of stores come in secondary, and they are on cycles almost where everybody starts equally,
Hmm.
and then several of the people leave and new people come in.
Right.
And when that is seen, I still remember when I was living in State College. Oh, they're tearing the mall down. No, they sold one of the anchor stores to another chain.
Hmm.
They gutted the store, renovated it, and fixed it up. Oh, no, no, no. But if you talk to, no, they're tearing the mall down.
Hmm.
And it's still there. Same thing with a mall out in Lycoming County that I know of, which I believe at one time had common ownership to Logan Valley Mall,
Hmm.
where they had a whole bunch of people change through there, and it was presumed, well, they're going out of business. No, they're still there.
I was in Dallas, and I went to a mall, and I was with somebody from Dallas, and I was like, wow, there's an ice skating rink in this mall. And they're like, there's not ice skating rinks in your malls? I'm like,
Hey,
no,
hey,
we don't have
I
that.
know of a mall out in Long Island. It's got live ducks in it.
Yeah, so I was like, no, we don't have that. We have the first mall ever, I think, in Altoona, and there's no ice skating rink in there.
I don't know if it's the first one, but I know that it's a long heritage one, and I don't think its heritage is over. But
Yeah.
that could be me. If anybody knows different, let us know. And as far as that's got to be. It is far and afield from what we're talking about in real estate usually, but as far as business real estate, um, what what is it? There's a type of trust or something that a lot of these business places, and whether it's a mall or shopping centers, have that some people do invest in. Was
Right.
it
Well,
a
there's
REIT?
REITs, yeah, real
REITs.
estate investment trusts.
What is
Right.
that?
So it's basically just an investment vehicle that you can. It's almost like trading in a mutual fund, where you say, I want to buy shares of that. So they basically bundle up different securities, which happen to be secured by real estate. And so you say, oh, I'm involved in a 400 unit apartment complex in Tucson or whatever.
Hmm.
And so you can actually buy into kind of common ownership of that and be able to trade it like you would other types of securities. So that way you can kind of get it in and out of it without having to, uh, you know, go through a regular sale process like you would in most real estate. Because, you don't want to go through a closing every time somebody invests in the property,
Hmm.
right? So that's really what, kind of the difference.
Yeah, that's something I guess that is a little beyond what we're normally talking about here on the program, but still interesting.
Yeah.
So, Virginia, thank you for starting that conversation. Again, if anybody has anything related to real estate, that was 946-0435. Before we go to the news, you had an alarm tip.
An alarm tip. Well, that's going to take that one's going to go a little bit longer. So if anybody else wants to call in and congratulate me on my CRB, that's great. No, I'm just kidding. No, somebody texted me while they heard that on there. They were like, "Oh, that's very nice that he called in." I appreciate that, Dave. That was very nice of you to notice that in the paper. You and my mom both noticed in the paper, so that's very nice.
But he probably didn't get the paper laminated and put on a plaque of wood to put in your room.
Yeah, exactly right. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll go to the news then, and when we get back, Adam was telling me a little bit about the alarm story off air during the break, and it does bring up something that would apply not just to the specific, but to a lot of services that you
Yeah.
may have at your house. So you think about it that way. And again, 946-0435 will also go over some of the stuff for Advanced Academy, since guess what? Ever closer. By the way, to Virginia, who called earlier and was complaining about the VMAs on MTV, um, I called it a couple of years ago. I don't remember how. I think it was 2 years ago that Miley Cyrus and Robin Thicke were on and scandalized everybody with that the dumb stuff that they were doing. And I called at the time. I said, well, in 2 years it just means she's going to be the host of the show. And was I wrong?
You nailed that one.
Can't make this junk up. Anyway, Tom Sullivan at 3 after Rush. At 6, Hugh Hewitt, the co-moderator of next Wednesday's Republican debate on CNN, by the way. At 9, John Batchelor. Tomorrow it returns Dial and Deal. Buy, sell, trade, give stuff away, look for things you'd like to buy. Email stuff into Doug@theradiocampus.com if you got pictures or descriptions or accounts of the game. Monday, Dr. Gabe Merkin, Doug@theradiocampus.com if you can't call in or you'd rather not and you have a medical question. And Tuesday, David Akins. Wednesday, various sundries. You may not know Lisa Jacob by name, but you saw her in a lot of movies. Like in Mrs. Doubtfire, she was the oldest daughter. She was in Independence Day. She was in a ton of TV, movies, and commercials over the years. She wrote a book called You Look Like That Girl because she did. And she got out of acting at 22 because she doesn't want to do it anymore. Then we've also got Kathy Garver, who was on Family Affairs. She wrote a book called Surviving Sissy. They had two wildly different experiences, and you hear the contrast. And then we're going to be talking with Kim Campbell, the wife of Glenn Campbell. The documentary I'll Be Me about his journey and the family's journey dealing with Alzheimer's was on CNN last month. It's been shown a good number of film festivals, won a number of awards, and it's now out on video on demand on DVD, and they're going to show it again in November on CNN. We'll talk to those folks next Wednesday, then back with Real Estate Thursday. On News Talk 1240 WRTA, Adam Conrad from Perry Wellington Realty, Advance Academy, and just real quick on Advance Academy, next Monday.
Next Monday and next Tuesday, we're actually running 2 sets of classes, a Monday, Wednesday class like we typically do. And because due to popular demand,
By popular demand.
yeah, that's right, we have added a Tuesday and Thursday class, which has worked out really well. There's a number of people that are happy we're running that because their schedules fit better. We have so many people in class, we didn't want to move the venue to something bigger, so we just decided to have 2 sets of classes running. Since we were on hiatus most of the summer, there's a lot of pent-up demand. We actually had a couple of people go through online classes and get their license that way. We had a guy, he actually started the online class. He talked to me and he's like, I don't want to wait till September. What do I do? I said, well, just take it online. So he did that. He finished the online class in 3.5 weeks, took his test, passed it the first time. His name is Jim Musselman. Congratulations to Jim if you're listening.
Yeah, not bad.
So Jim passed the class. Well, he passed the class, passed the test right away, came into my office. I signed up his paperwork. We had his license in 5 days. So within a span of less than 5 weeks, he went from not to licensed real estate agent. So,
which is neat if you can do it. Not everybody will.
Right. So the nice thing is the classes are 6 weeks. So you take the 6 weeks sitting on class, take the test readily. I recommend. A lot of folks have learned not to delay because it seems like it's fresher in your mind then. And you take the test and then sign up, and you can start selling real estate. So speaking of which, when we talk about the selling real estate, we talked a bit about part-time agents. I was at a breakfast this morning, and I ran into Mark Condren, and his wife Tiffany is actually an agent with us, and she's a teacher, so she works a lot during the summer. And I said to Mark, I said, I got to tell you, Tiffany has done such a fantastic job this year. She sold a number of homes, and they all were like really I mean, she didn't take on a lot, but what she did was like super successful. Like every
Made the
deal,
best use of the time.
yeah, I mean, she like listed a house, sold a house, bang, and that was great. So I just want to point out that these folks that they take on what they can and they do a fantastic job, and the clients are very excited about their success. So worked out great, and she did very favorably to augment their income over the summer, which was good.
Yeah, well, we talked about part-time agents a great deal last week, but it's just another illustration that, yeah, that can work quite well.
Absolutely, and you got to get your career started somehow. Many folks that have gotten into the business, I think, you have to think about how do you get into the business of real estate, and unless you've got some big pile of money socked away, you're going to have to eat while you get your career started. So it's a lot of folks do it part-time to get the deal spun up.
Yeah.
So.
946-0435, News Talk 1240 WRTA. Rumor Central here if you'd like to have a shoot down anything or confirm it. or actually talk about real estate, that would work.
Let's talk about the casino, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not
Somebody called about that a while
no,
back.
No,
Yeah.
let's not do that.
No, not again.
Right.
Eventually, they say a broken clock is right twice a day.
That's right.
Eventually, if you hear enough rumors, you hear enough of them that one or two might be true.
I have a clock at my place that's set at a little after 5. Because that way it's 5 o'clock all the time, just in case. Yeah.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Yes, exactly right.
Thank you, Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett. But in
You
either
got it.
case, you were talking about a tip involving an alarm,
Yes.
and this is bigger than just alarm systems. It's the whole nature of, oh, hey, here's something that we didn't necessarily consider in this transaction. It kind of fell between the cracks of everything else, but this could happen to anybody.
Absolutely. So a lot of folks don't think about it, but when you purchase a service, or actually you subscribe to a service, a lot of times they don't realize the extent to which they're subscribing for a service. So when you sign up for something like we'll say a water softener might be an example, or a alarm system,
or even cable.
It's really important to understand what your obligation is under the agreement you've signed, right? So a lot of like I'll use alarms as an example, and I'm not picking on anybody here, painting with a broad brush, but if you have a deal where they say, hey, look, $99 installation special, it's worth $2,000 or something like that.
There's something in there that they're giving it to you for that price at that reason.
Right. So you want to give some real thought to, when you sign the agreement, what's the term and what happens if you don't follow all of the terms. So example, you might have an alarm system installed and they say, this is a 5-year agreement. You got to pay $25 a month for the next 5 years. And you think, well, okay, that's fine and dandy, but what happens if I don't pay? What happens if I sell the house in 2 years? Well, that's an important thing to know, and these types of things come up in real estate because we just had this happen actually. So you sign an agreement and now you're basically canceling it after 2 years. And what's a lot of times in these contracts they'll have something known as a liquidated damages, which is basically it looks like you get to pay for everything. So the reality is, if you've got these types of subscriptions, be very cautious when you approach your home sale, because if you've got a subscription and there's a term, the vendor's going to probably expect to be paid for that term
by somebody.
Right. So it would be great if you could say, hey, to the buyer, will you take this? I mean, and we do. We say, hey, to the buyer, will you take this and pay the $25 a month? Yeah, and we do. But the buyer's not under any obligation to continue that service. So it's important that if you've signed up for it, just because you sold your house doesn't get you out of the service agreement. And so you want to make sure that, that you've got some sort of, an out, and maybe you don't have an out. The out might be you got to pay. So just a little consumer tip for today.
Yeah, and you said that you were telling us during the one break where somebody was complaining, hey, either the alarm company was talking to the new owners or...
Right. So in this case, we as the agents get to be the go-between, so that's fine. We'll communicate to the buyer.
Not something you expected, but yeah, you'll do it.
So great. We'll talk to the buyer, let them know for $25 a month they can continue the service, and if there's a break-in or something, then they'll call the police and whatnot. But it's important that of course we have that conversation, but you can't expect that the buyer is going to take that on. There's nothing the buyer has to do. I mean, the buyer can just simply say no.
Well, could the seller, though, say, as a condition of sale, you will take this contract? Yeah. Everything's negotiable, right?
Absolutely, but that would be something you would have had to negotiate.
You'd have to let them know in advance, and they'd have to say, yes, I definitely will do this.
Right, and so, so perhaps as an agent, you could put this on the agent and say the agent should know better. But on the flip side of that, the seller has the service and they're paying monthly, so they might want to think about, this is my reason for my tip. If you signed up for it, this is your obligation. And, if you want that to continue, if you don't want to pay out a liquidated damages, give that, make sure that the agent knows, hey, look, I've got a contract on this thing, a couple years. We want to negotiate that into the deal, so that we'll package that and say that the buyer has to take that on if they want to buy the house. So that's an important distinction.
And the funny thing is, I mean, if you're a buyer, you might even be thinking of doing something like that, or you hadn't really considered it, but the more you think about it, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind having that service, but you're going to have that in a more positive frame of mind if somebody said, before you even sign anything, before you do this, hey, by the way, we've got this, would you like to continue this, or we would like you to continue this as part of the deal, whoever the buyer is. And then maybe you're prepared for it, because after everything is signed and the ink is dried, you don't want to be getting, hey, you're going to have to pay this.
Right.
Actually, no, I don't.
No,
you do. That's your problem.
Right, and the buyer's really not on the hook to pay, which is good. So if you're a buyer, you're not really going to be concerned about this. But if you've signed on for some sort of subscription, you're going to want to make sure that you know what those terms look like, so that you know what your obligation is should you sell your house before that subscription has ended.
And it's not unreasonable to think, okay, I sign up for something today. I'm not going to know in 2 years I'm selling because circumstances have
You have
changed.
no idea what's going to go down.
Yeah. Right. So you're not going to you're not going to say, I'm making no decisions because 5 years from now I might have to sell. No, life goes on. You just do whatever you think best at the time, but understand the obligation.
Right.
I think it's an opportunity, frankly. To some people that would be a selling point. Now, maybe if you have a very nice house and you have a good alarm system, maybe you want to just continue with it because you were thinking, oh, maybe I'd like to put one in myself.
Right.
Then again, I suppose that the converse of this is, you come in to buy a house, you see it's got an alarm system, even if they don't use it as a selling point, or but especially if they do, if the seller neglects to mention, oh, by the way, that's expiring in 2 weeks.
Right.
After the sale closes, that could be a bit of a problem as well, couldn't it?
It could, but I think, again, I won't speak for the alarm people, but I think probably because the equipment's there, that it wouldn't be a big deal to resubscribe and restart the service. Like I said, the big issue comes up whenever
the obligation versus, oh, I have to go the extra step to turn it on.
And the other flip side of that is, if you're a buyer and the seller's paid, 4 out of 5 of the years, you only have to subscribe for a year, and you've got a system. Maybe,
and if you like the service you get, maybe you stick with that company as opposed to another company.
Right. And the other piece of those too is that, they usually come in 2 forms. They usually have some sort of a siren, or, the thing I like about those alarm systems is they chime or chirp whenever a door is open, so you can kind of know that, somebody's walked in or whatever. And they'll typically have a siren. So if there's a break-in, they have its own alarm and noisemaker. And then they typically have, where the subscription comes into play, is, they have monitoring. So they'll call you and say, hey, we've had something triggered, and then it'll call the police or whatever as part of that deal. Mm-hmm. So there's really kind of 2 pieces, and really the monitoring piece, from my understanding, is the piece that is really what you're paying for. So even after the subscription lapses and you cancel, if the system's been paid for, a lot of times it'll sit in the house. You can still use it as a noisemaker. It'll still be an alarm system. It's just not connected to anybody.
And the only other thing that would be a concern to me is if I already had a company I wanted to go with, and this was brand X versus brand Y. Mm-hmm. Maybe you didn't want to do that, but again, like you said, if it's got some time on it and you want to try it, you might like it.
Yeah, that's a little consumer tip for the day.
Yeah, but again, just something. It's know what you're buying. Know what you're not,
and know what you're selling too. I mean,
tell people.
Know what your obligations are. Read those contracts. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff in those, but know what your obligation is.
Yeah, but also as far as when you're selling, you may say, well, that's not important. Well, actually, it is, because somebody's buying it. It's a pretty big deal. And you may say, well, yeah, I mean, I told you about the loose floorboard, and what else do I have to tell you? Oh, yeah, this contract.
Exactly.
946-0435 will continue on Real Estate Thursday, the 11th hour. News Talk 1240 WRTA. You knew we had to.
You just couldn't resist, could you? You are the king of the bumper music. That's what you are.
We try. News Talk 1240 WRTA, the 11th hour. Doug Herendeen, Adam Conrad for Real Estate Thursday from Perry Wellington and Advance Academy. And Perry Wellington 4.5, 4:30 tomorrow on WTAJ. A couple of the topics that you wanted to talk about: tax advantages.
Oh yeah, so we've got a we're playing around with a off-season program. So we're totally talking about things that you wouldn't normally talk about when it's 90 degrees out. Talking about.
So of course it started to rain today.
Yeah, of course it dropped 20 degrees in
because
one
the Curve
day.
came back into town to play again. Hey, go Curve on the playoffs.
And by the way, nice job last night. Wow.
Yeah.
That was one heck of a game. So I figured we'd go a little bit against the grain as we are known to do, and talk about tax things when it's not April, right? Because everybody always talks about tax things around tax time. So I thought, well, let's talk about a few things about tax advantages of home ownership. And so we're going to be talking about that in depth tomorrow on the show. And then again, to continue the theme, we're going to talk about getting ready for the fall.
Is it fall yet? And the answer is no. By the way, it's not until the 21st. So
right. So what we thought we'd do is talk a little bit about some things you really wouldn't consider whenever it's 90 degrees out. Of course, then the temperature changed on us, so go figure. So things like insulation, maybe a big expense, but a real interesting thing that would add value to your home and maybe reduce your energy bills is install a fireplace.
Now there's one that I think is not for the faint of heart.
No, I'm not saying but it can be a do-it-yourselfer, but you're gonna have to be.
You better know what you're doing yourself, though.
Yeah, or else you're gonna the local fire department will be running by. So
casting aspersions and water at you probably if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, so we got some of those things, and then some do-it-yourself inexpensive upgrades. So different things, like one of my favorites is, I'm going to give it away, one of my favorites is the ceiling fan.
Explain why, because most people think this is only, because you get a nice breeze, and there's energy savings in this.
Absolutely. Most people don't realize this. Maybe a lot of people, maybe more people know than I realize, but ceiling fans run two directions. So they actually will.
Surprise.
Yeah, most of them have a little switch on them, so you can run them both directions. And I know this may sound like I'm Captain Obvious here, but they can blow down in the wintertime to keep the heat off the ceiling and circulate warm air down, and they can run up and blow up in order to
pull the air up.
Pull the air up.
So you get a breeze.
Yeah, exactly. So you get a breeze. So they run both directions, and they're a great. Aesthetically, they're typically very nice. A lot of people like ceiling fans, and they add value to your home, and it's a nice way to upgrade a room, add new lighting with a ceiling fan.
Now, I think there are some houses around here where there are the very high ceilings, so obviously you can do it there. There are also some that have the very low, so maybe you can't do it in those specific rooms.
Right.
But I don't know how strongly you could really stress that this is such a great addition.
It is really, and there's so many. The thing I like ceiling fans. I have a really cool. I never showed you this one, but I have this really cool ceiling fan that's in nickel and it's red. It's like this bright red ceiling fan.
You have a pool table sitting
in my office. I decorated this office, and when I did this, I had a lamp. I had like a lamp that had like a Tiffany lampshade. It was like a lead glass thing.
Yeah.
And it had different colors in it. And one was red, and one was like a color, like a copper color. Mm-hmm. And so I painted the room. I furnished the room and did it all in the colors from the lampshade. And everyone looked at me like I was completely out of my mind, because I painted the walls a copper. It's like a copper color. And so my son actually helped me paint, and he said, somebody's going to break in here and repaint this room. He said, this is the horrible color. And
Perry Wellington Interior Designs,
yes,
coming next to you.
Yes, we do it all. No, I really little design taste, but I did that. But I found this in a catalog at Lowe's. I found this ceiling fan that had a red that matched there's only like one red square on that Tiffany lamp, on that lampshade, and I found a ceiling fan that matched it, and it really pops if you can stand it. Anyway, so
okay,
so I recommend. My recommendation is there's so many choices in ceiling fans. They're fantastic. They do a great job of lighting the room. They are energy saving, and so I'm a big fan of the ceiling fan.
And if you can match them to the room with a color that will keep most people out of it except you, you can get some work done and relax.
That's it, exactly right. So we nailed it.
It's something that we were talking about with the alarms. One of the things you're going to mention is tech upgrades, and that is part of it.
Yeah, so tech upgrades is another piece, a little do-it-yourself project. Camera systems, very popular these days, good security mechanism, and it's great. You can look around, you can from your cell phone, you can see who's at the door, those kind of things. It's very nice.
I have friends who have doggy cams.
Yeah, doggy cams.
Now they can see everything in the living room and the entrance to their home. But the main reason they got it is for the dogs.
Yeah,
and they can talk to them too.
Yeah, if I got one for my dog, I just would see, I got this little dog that picks on my bigger dog. I got this little dog I got inherited from my son and a girlfriend who broke up, and so we've got this little dog. He's like the alpha dog of the house, so like he runs the place. And so if I watched that on the camera, all I would see is that dog picking on the other dog all day. I can't watch it.
But if you had the voice command on it, you say no.
Yeah, and he listens not.
So in other words, when you're there, the dog doesn't listen. So why bother to do it over the internet? When the dog will completely ignore it.
I'm going to save my money on that one. But they're great upgrades. We've got some great tips on tomorrow's show. So here again, it's just part of what we're doing at Perry Wellington, trying to help you be more successful in the sale of your home, help you save money in the process. And again, we'll probably talk more about the 3D tours. The 3D tours I redesigned the website and put push pins and stuff. I don't know if you showed you that. They have push pins now. You can actually click on the pin and it shows you the different tours we've done, and it's pretty slick.
Yeah, and we posted some of those on our Facebook page, facebook.com/WRTA Doug. But if you also go to the Perry Wellington Facebook page, you can find it there and on the website. And you can find a link to that from the 11th hour page at WRTA.com. It's one big cycle and circle of life online in virtual reality. And if people want some information about Advanced Academy or Perry Wellington, your number is?
Yeah, so scholarships, again, we have scholarships for the Advanced Academy. That's 934-5246.
All right. Adam Conrad, Perry Wellington, thanks very much.
Thanks, Doug.
And a reminder that tomorrow we have Dial and Deal, buy, sell, trade, give stuff away, look for stuff you'd like to buy. We're back through the rest of the year. I think Black Friday, maybe not, but we can go to the mall, but you'll still be there then.
Yes.
Dial and Deal tomorrow on WRTA. Take care. Thanks for listening. All back.